Hello, and welcome to Fenris Valka's Den. May your stay be enjoyable and pleasant. Hello, and good morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming out to our very first session today. We're really excited to be starting off this year's annual workshop for heroes and villains alike. We hope that this year will be even better than the last. If this is your first time here, well then, welcome. We're always glad to see new faces, and let me tell you, you are in for an experience of a lifetime. Nowhere else can you find the latest research in the field. You might find these next couple of days to be enlightening, or even life-changing. So, make the most of it and learn as much as you can. Oh, I know it's tough getting out of bed this early, but I hope we all had a good night's sleep last night. And today's gonna be, well, let's just say it's gonna be a long one for you all. But you'll have lots of fun with this session, I do promise. And it's all about romance and finding that special someone. People always like this one. So we decided to do it earlier to help brighten everybody's mood. But if you needed that extra bit of energy just to start the day, we've got some complimentary coffee at the back. Make sure you only get 1 cup per person. There will be refills, don't worry. Do we have an issue back there? I hope I don't have to remind anyone that this is a class for the villains. And this will be your first lesson for today. Toughen up, Buttercup. You get black coffee. Take it or leave it. I don't mind. And alright, now that we've all settled in, are there any questions before we get started? It's no problem. Go ahead. Why, yes. This is our villain's guide on how to get the guy or girl, depending on which one you prefer. Are you in the wrong session? That's rather strange. Did someone refer you here? And what did you ask for? Well, there's no 100% guarantee that you'll be able to get the guy or the girl. I'm just here to provide you with tips for the best outcome. As much as I'd like to agree that we all deserve a relationship, that's kind of the mentality that made us rethink our methods in the first place. And it's the reason why the heroes always seem to win out. Every single time over us. No, no enacting revenge against any perceived love rivals, or our own love interest for that matter. It's not one of the objectives covered. That method is outdated following our current research. And the last semester. Our enemies aren't inherently those with superior genes. We're usually the ones who look better anyway. But I'm not sure what that has to do with the discussion, but my name is on the event information. It's not whatever that was you just called me. Now, please, refrain from calling me that. No, we're not exactly planning an uprising or anything. This is meant to be done on an individual level. Unless you mean weeding out the competition, then yes, we do go over that. If that's what you're interested in learning, then you're in the right session. No, I don't think the hero session goes over that, but you're more than welcome to ask a moderator. That session won't be running until this afternoon. It should be on the schedule for, let's see, room 412 Alpha. Yeah. Yes, I would ask again just to make sure. That's no problem. That's why we ask. And I genuinely hope you find what you're looking for. But you're always welcome to join one of our other sessions. That's unfortunate. But I'm sure the heroes are more than willing to orientate you in the right direction. Yes, good luck with that. Anyway, do we have any more questions? Alright then, let's get started. So, can anyone tell me what the key traits of a villain are that someone might find attractive? Anyone? Looks like someone was paying attention earlier. Yes. Generally speaking, we have the aesthetic that makes us stand out compared to everyone else. Any others? Yes, that's a great one. Power can be one of our greatest strengths. Since it encompasses several areas, it can mean strength of our abilities, our wealth, or even just our presence alone. Being able to command the attention and strike fear into the others is one of our greatest assets. Because it will get us what we want. What else can we think of? That is a good one. Having an air of mystery does entice people into wanting to learn more about us. That's why we hold the big reveals for who we are and what our story is until the very end. It's our initial hook that gets them interested. And this actually ties into one of the most important qualities. Does anyone know what that is? Any guesses? Alright then, I'll give you this one. We are very relatable. Oh, so much more than any hero. How many people do you know in your life that has woken up one day and found out they were destined for greatness, leading them on a journey to quell some sort of evil, with the help of the friends they made along the way? First off, it's called the Chosen One, for a reason. There can be more than one of them. I'm sure a lot of people would absolutely love to be part of the 0.01%. But we all can't have a nice things in life, can we? And secondly, show of hands now. How many of us have been able to make more than 5 friends in the span of a week? Come on. That's right. Some people are lucky to even have one. But having to deal with that many people in that short time, oh, it's an introvert's worst nightmare. And since that's one of our target demographics, understanding why our audience needs is key to developing successful relationships. Overall, heroes have set quite the unrealistic standard for the average person. Us villains live by a much more grounded set of expectations. I'm sure many of us have experienced loss. We've all had moments of weakness. But it's those moments that have shaped us into who we are today. We're the average person who pushes through failures in order to achieve success. And who doesn't love a good success story? Especially one that others can emulate. Now, here we ask the most important question. We know our strengths, and we have our hook. So, how do we get the guy or the girl? Maybe even both? Well, before I can answer that, I have to give you a bit of a disclaimer. Standard procedure and all that. But I am legally obligated to inform you that pursuing a relationship with your designated love interest will increase your risk of death. Around double the chances of when facing up against a fully powered group of heroes. Now, let's calm down for a moment. I know it sounds like it's not worth the effort, and your life is best sacrificed for a greater evil. But it is. But we have several situations to look out for to reduce that risk by at least tenfold. Let's start with what we don't want to see. First off, get rid of those grudges. If you've got any bad blood between you and anyone in your life, take care of that now, especially within your own personal circles. A lot of the time, it can be your own allies who are your own undoing. But you know, you're twice as likely to be killed by another villain than a hero. Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Hmm? Remember this. Villains are much less forgiving than heroes. Take that from experience. Just be careful though. Being on good terms with your allies doesn't guarantee your safety. Fraternizing with a third party, especially a hero, may spark feelings for betrayal. So you may be better off running solo. Or you might want to consider involving your allies in on the act itself. I'm sure there's a couple of you here are from some organization or have others you plan on sharing information with after this session. Just make sure to discuss your action plan beforehand to avoid any overlapping in love interests. We don't need to be dealing with any love triangles, and believe me, we'll get to those. Ugh. Before we talk about that, there's a couple of things I'd like to go over regarding how our love interests view us. For you see, we are a brand. We need to market ourselves well to our audience. So we've got our core elements: power, mystery, and aesthetic, and relatability. But how do we make those traits known? Why, of course, power and the aesthetic are obvious. They're basically our visual advertisement, if you will. And mystery goes without saying. If we give them enough reason to want more, oh, they will. But how do we market our relatability? Well, I hope you've got yourself a juicy backstory about how you got to where you are now, because the guys and the girls, or whoever else, will eat that right up. The more depressing, the better. So, let's hope you've had a couple of deaths in your life. Otherwise, you might need to start partaking in some risky behaviors. Oh, but don't worry. There's other alternatives. If you don't know anyone with one foot in the grave, did you ever get rejected in the past? Did you ever fail at something you worked so hard for? Have you ever burned your hand on a stove trying to cook something? Well, congratulations! People find even smallest mistakes endearing. If you can add some vulnerability to your image, then you're one step closer to victory. However, you're not out the woods yet. There's a couple of things you need to look out for when you've become the subject of interest as a result of your pitiful appearance. And it all comes down to four words that you never want to hear. I can fix them. The moment you hear that phrase, make a run for it, because you're not getting out of that unscathed. That's coming from experience as well. Either you become someone's experiment and you have your life dictated to by the idolized vision for you, or it all falls through, meaning you don't get the guy or the girl. What a shame. But here comes some news I'm sure not many of you will be happy with. While we don't want to be treated against our will, we might need to make some changes of our own volition. Namely, moving our allegiances over to the other side. Yes, you heard me correct. Yes, I do understand this is a villain's course. After all, I am here. But the unfortunate truth is that our most successful cases have involved becoming a hero. That's not to say it's not possible to stick to your roots, but there's too much data backing up the trend. And it's just a tried and true method of redemption resulting in love. Now that you've joined forces with the heroes, an ideal situation would involve no bad blood between you and your villainous allies. But the risk is always there, unless they too follow the path to redemption. And there are some additional concerns that you may need to deal with, which go back to the love triangle. Ah, yes, the ever dreaded love triangle. Now, typically, it will involve at least you, your love interest, and one of their allies. Now, how do we get around this? Well, let me start by saying that you may have to ask yourself, will they or won't they get together? Then you might as well give up now. As much as they don't want to admit it, they've already made up their minds and there's not much you can do about it. With no amount of spice you add to your actions and words, it will never change the platter. It's been limited to plain old bread. Forgive the analogy. What I mean to say is, don't waste your energy on it, because you're not winning that situation. Oh, but the good news is anything else is fair game. And we have a very effective strategy for getting rid of the competition through means of pure wit and cunning. In order to come out as the victor, the hero must become their own undoing. And, my dear listener, here is what I mean by that. No person is without flaws. And some flaws, when drawn out, can show the worst in someone. A reformed villain has the advantage of already starting their journey to amend these flaws. But by making a hero's flaws apparent, we put them in a position that makes them less desirable. That's why hot-headed heroes are the best opponents in a love triangle. They stick fast to their beliefs and are often reluctant to change. And once your love interest realizes that, you strike. But for those who prefer a more simplistic approach, I would suggest finding a special someone who doesn't have any other prospective suitors. Same rules apply with the redemption and taking care of grudges beforehand. Oh, and do take special precautions if your love interest lacks any sort of affiliation with heroes. They're in much more vulnerable positions, and we don't need any extra notes in the backstory, now do we? Now, to understand how to go about redeeming yourself for your best chance at getting the guy or the girl, please check out our next cinema this afternoon, The Path to Redemption, knowing when to reassess your values. I will be the speaker for that session, along with my lovely partner. And we will be sharing our own personal experience from the battlefield to a life with beautiful kids. I highly recommend attending for supplementary education. So, do we have any further questions before we wrap up this session? Yes. I still like to keep my villain title, regardless. There are a few things I keep from my old ways that my partners still, well, they still get at me for. But don't tell them that I said that. Just kidding. They're currently here moderating this session. I'm sorry, honey. I love you. Oh, yes. We have several sources we retrieved from this data from. Much is from personal recounts via international surveys that were provided references for. The rest was compiled from some archives of canonical instances of romance between villains and heroes, provided by self-proclaimed romance experts. Aye. But much of the subject to secure scrutiny due to bias. No, we will not be providing those sources to the public. Here, hey, it might be nefarious to provide data without the original source, but I'm a villain, you see. That'll be my second villainous deed of this session. Gotta keep the integrity somehow now, don't I? Right, that being said, class dismissed. If there isn't any further additional questions, that is. Good. Well then, we shall see you next session. Make sure to take the post-quiz to receive your credits for this block. Take care. And have a good one, little Strops. Ow.